Hello everybody, this is Rob Redman of PARIAH Studios and welcome to my latest video. This is going to be a fairly quick and basic one, but I did this video that you might have seen on Vimeo some time ago about reflections and global illumination, and a few people liked it and it seemed to be very popular, and since I did it I've had a few questions about the glowing material, and one person from the forums, which if you haven't seen, PARIAH Studios now has a forum, which is pariahstudios.co.uk/forum. Somebody on there emailed me just about the possibility of animating the kind of intensity of the lights. So I put together this little example, and it's very quick and simple. There you go. That's it. Very quick, very easy. But if you're a newcomer to Cinema 4D, and quite a lot of people on the forum seem to be, I just thought I'd run through very quickly how to do it. Excuse me. Okay, so I've got the scene, which if you followed the previous reflections and GI tutorial, you'll be familiar with, and I've changed the material on the ground just to speed up rendering more than anything, and I've also changed it so that the depth of field is done in Cinema 4D rather than in post, which I would normally do, just because it's a very simple scene. So we've got the scene set up here. We've got a floor, set object with the concrete texture, which is just an extruded spline, and then we've got the 4 spheres of different sizes, and the 4 materials were different coloured gradients. That's all these are. If you just go and have a look here, it's just a gradient in V set up very close like that. So there's a band with a slightly paler centre point. And that's the same for all of them, they're all done in the same way, except this one is just the other way around with the black in the centre. There's also a sky object with an HDR on, just to kind of globally light the scene. GI is turned on, but no ambient occlusion, nothing like that. And this tutorial really is all about just how you can animate textures. And one thing I just want you to keep in mind is, if you're new to Cinema 4D, any parameter in any window where you see the little black circle next to whatever it is, a slider or a drop down, if it's got the little black circle there, it means you can animate it. And to set a keyframe on one of these, you just hold down Control and click on it, and that's what we're going to be doing throughout this video. So I'm just going to move that out of the way a second, and we've got 125 frames here, and it's at 25 frames a second. Now, at the start of the animation, I had all of the balls not lighting up, so they had the colour there, but they weren't emitting any light at all. So make sure you're at the beginning of your animation. Let's open up the first one of our materials here, and we're looking at the luminance channel, which is a copy of the colour channel. So if you've set up a gradient in the colour channel, or bear in mind that this doesn't have to be a gradient, it could be noise, it could be anything. Then you can just click on the arrow there, copy channel, go into luminance and paste channel, and I'm going to make this mix strength 0%, and I've set this to black, otherwise you get some things that you're not really expecting, like that. So if you set that to black, set the mix strength to 0, hold Control and click on the little circle, and you get a red dot. Now if you come up to Window and Timeline, that will open up your timeline, and you'll see that in that first material you've got a keyframe added here. You can see it down here as well, the little blue box there, that means there's a keyframe. But if you're doing it in the timeline, because you've got more than one thing that you're going to be working on at the same time, like I am, I've got the 4 materials, then this just makes it a little bit easier. And I'm just going to go through all of these by control clicking. Oh, see, now I've made a mistake there, I need that to be 0, and just control clicking will overwrite that keyframe. That's fine, that's not a problem. Knock that down to 0, and that one down to 0, control click, set a keyframe, and we'll go back to the first one again, and we're going to move forward 1 second, so onto frame 25, and I'm going to up this to 100, and you'll see that the circle there has gone yellow, so this The yellow circle there means that there are keyframes for that object, but your current change hasn't been keyframed. So I'm going to control click there to make the keyframe, and I'm going to go through and do the same as I did before. I'm just going through the different materials, adding that keyframe. And if we go back to the beginning, you might not see it too clearly. It's not really showing, but if I go and turn on Enhanced OpenGL, now just a note about Enhanced OpenGL, when you come up to display here, you've got this option. Not all of the features that are supported by Enhanced OpenGL will be supported by your graphics card. So some might be, some might not. Some cards will let you show the results or a preview of the results of normal maps and all sorts of things. So if you don't see that, don't worry. But for our purposes, the luminance channel should show. So if you press play now, you can see. There you go. That's worked. And that's absolutely fine. That's exactly what we're after. Now, what I don't like so much is the fact that they can't. The lights come on very slowly. I want them to kind of pop into place. So what I'm going to do is grab that keyframe there, and you could do this in the timeline, or you can do it here. In fact, because I've got 4 lights in my scene and I've done the same, I've made the same changes to all of them in the luminance channel, I'm going to select all of the lights there. So that's all 4, and I'm just going to drag to, I'm going to say actually probably frame 17. I'm happy with that. But we'll just double check, because I want the lights to kind of pop on a lot quicker. That's still probably a little slow. Let's try frame 22, see what happens. Yeah, I'm more happy with that. So now I'm going to go to, say, frame 40, and we will have the change from bright to dark happen a little bit slower. So we're on frame 40 there, and I'll open up the first material, drag that back down to 0%, control click, same again, control click, control click, control click, and now you'll see there's a keyframe there. That's because this is selected. If you enter a material or an object, just a quick thing to remember, that doesn't have any animated properties, such as the HDR I've got on the sky, all your keyframes won't show up, obviously because you haven't got any, but that's just something to bear in mind, that you can use the current selection will have its keyframes here. If you've got loads of keyframes for all sorts, you're going to have to open up the timeline, which will provide you with all the keyframes for everything. You can see I've got camera keyframes up here, because my camera is animated. So we've made those changes. Let's just preview them again. I think they fade away too fast. I'm going to take that to frame 45. Go back to the beginning, press play. Okay. Now, in my preview video, I've got them flashing kind of 3 times, I think, all together at once. All together again at the end, and in the middle they kind of go off one by one. I'll just play that again. Okay, and I did that just so I could tinker with the music more than anything. Okay, so what I want to do is to have the lights come on one by one, and we'll use exactly the same method as before. We'll go to frame 60, looks about right, and we'll open up, let's go for this pink one first. So I've opened up the pink one there, but what I don't want to happen is that where it goes to 0 here at about frame 45, if I keyframe going to frame 60 here going up to 100, it'll go slowly down and slowly up. So I'm just going to back off, let's say about 3 frames, and I'm going to keyframe at 0 again. Now I'll move back to frame 60, keyframe at 100, and go forward. What do we do? This is probably about there to tail it back off to 0 again. and control click, set a keyframe. So if we go back to the beginning, press play. Now the pink one should flash again. Now I'm not going to repeat the process because you've seen it, but that's all I did, is I just went through the different lights, and if I want to adjust the timings of them or anything, then you can make a selection and you can just drag them around. If I want that one to light up almost as soon as it goes off, then I could actually just delete those two keyframes. We'll move those ones back to there, and now you'll see they'll all flow on, all back off again, and the pink one will come back straight on almost straight away, like that. And that's all there was to it. So like I said, this is a very basic tutorial for people that just haven't thought about the different possibilities of animating rather than just objects and dynamics and everything like that. Any of these. So this sphere here, for example, instead of going into the scale tool here and keyframing, changing the scale of that, you could just set a keyframe for the radius at this point, and then you could go forward, or you could go back to, let's say, frame 20, and we'll reduce that right down, set a keyframe there, go back to the beginning, and now as we play it back, we haven't lost the information from the material for animating the light coming on, but as the lights come on and off, you've also got the scaling will happen, and that's done by using the parameters here. So anyway, you see a black circle, that's what you can animate, and its control click is to set a keyframe. So let's just play that through, just so you can see I'm not fibbing. There you go. Very simple, very quick, and can be really useful. So if you're new to Cinema 4D, hopefully that's been a good tip for you. If you're an experienced user, then you've probably skipped this after about 30 seconds, and we'll see you for one of the more advanced ones soon. Thanks very much. I've been Rob Redman. Goodbye.